And joining us right now on the Rothaman Orthopedic Guest Line, former Eagle himself and Cowboy, but nobody remembers that, Garry Cobb. What's up, GCobb?
I'm doing great. I tell you, it's an exciting time in Philadelphia. You know, we're ready for this game, man. I got a lot on the line. And, you know, I ran into a guy over at a breakfast place over in, what was it, Penrose Diner.
All right,
buddy
yeah,
of mine
sure.
wanted to go over there. So we ran into Jason Kelce over there. He's over there eating breakfast. So, man, you could just feel it. You know, this is going to be very exciting, man. I'll tell you that.
The way he was attacking his scrappling eggs.
Yeah, hey.
It's Indomitian Sue.
I would have loved to play with him, man. I don't know how he does it. How does a guy his size block these guys that are outweighing him by, 100 pounds? He's an amazing athlete. And I just wish Miles Sanders, you remember that play where Jason's way downfield?
Yeah.
If he'd have just followed Jason, that would have gone down maybe as one of the greatest blocks ever. Because you're making a block that's 50 or 60 yards downfield.
Absolutely. I know the argument was that if he would have cut it to the outside, I forget who the defensive back was, but he would have caught him. I want to say it was against the Washington football team. It was Giants or Washington. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And you saw Jason Kelce just throw his arms up in the air like, just follow me, man. That's all you had to do. But when you saw Jason, he was really into this game, obviously.
Well, yeah. He was chatting, because he was over there with Connor Barwin, and they were chatting it up, and they had done a piece. I don't know who was doing a piece on them, but the cameras were over there, and they were chatting it up, and they were getting ready to do some serious eating after doing some camera work and that sort of thing. So
right. All right.
He looks like he's ready to go, man. He's smiling. Look
at this. I didn't even know I was getting the scoop about Jason Kelce and Connor Barwin's breakfast, but here you are. You're breaking the news of breakfast. There you are. In all seriousness, you look at a game like this. You mentioned you don't know how a guy like Jason Kelce at his size could block guys that are outweighing him by 75, 100 pounds. And then I look at this age aspect of it with Tom Brady. Could you imagine playing football, although I know it was a different position, at 44 years of age, Garry Cobb?
No way. I mean, I couldn't imagine playing at that age, and as a quarterback playing at that age. It's all of the hits he's taken, and somehow he's able to continue to play, especially at the level he's playing at. He's just an extraordinary player, and the thing that comes out in Brady is the son of a gun is a competitor. He is a competitor. And that's what drives his teams. And I just think he's a great leader because he doesn't just push the guys, but see, if you are a leader on a team, you got to do it first. Before you tell guys, you ask them to make a commitment. And he makes a commitment to be the best player he can be all the time and expects it out of his teammates. And he really drives them because from what I've heard about how he will work on a play and then say, hey, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again until we get that play right. Mm-hmm. He's just an exceptional competitor. And that's what's made him, the greatest quarterback that's ever played the game, and he's the greatest winner. And I think that really sticks out the most is he's the greatest winner that's ever played in the NFL.
I could not agree with that more. On the other side of this, the very other end of the spectrum is Jalen Hurts, 23 years old, a little bit younger there than Tom Brady. What would you tell a guy if you were in there in the locker room with him? What advice would you give a young quarterback like that before he sets out for his first playoff game?
Well, I think Jalen, if you listen to him talk, he's really following. He's got the same mentality that Tom Brady has because he got it from Alabama. He got it from Oklahoma. He talks about the coaches. He was talking about Lincoln Riley, in fact, the other day. And so he talks about his coaches. And, of course, that guy down in Alabama talks about him all the time. But there's a mentality to winning. First of all, you've got to be prepared. You got to come in totally prepared for what the other team is probably going to do, whether they like to do, and you study the other team, and then you know what it is that's your strength. And so he comes in, and I think one game this year where he got off of that, and you could see he really struggled, and that was that Giant game.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, he knows that if the Eagles are going to win, and really this is what is winning in football, take care of the football. And Jalen's done a pretty good job of that throughout the season. So he knows that. Now he's getting better as a thrower, but he knew, take care of the football. And so he's going to do that, and you can expect him to do that on Sunday, is he will take care of the football. And they got to be able to effective running the ball. But that's going to be their key to winning, is they got to run the football well, and they got to avoid turnovers.
I 1,000% agree with that. When it comes to Hurts, though, one of the knocks on him, aside from throwing, and I agree with you that he's becoming a better thrower, how is he at reading defenses? Because one of the things you always see on Twitter, he can't read a defense. My assessment is he can. He just needs to really improve that part of his game. What's your assessment of that aspect of his game?
I think you hit it on the head, Mark, is that he's getting better at it. He needs to improve in that area. That's one of the areas where he's got to be able to do it quicker. And I saw some things in the second Washington game. And, he twisted his ankle. And then ultimately, it might not have been a bad thing because it made him stay in the pocket. And he stayed in the pocket, and he was able to throw the ball outside. He stayed with the routes, because I think sometimes the receivers, they might not say anything, but they can get frustrated because he gives up on the route immediately and takes off and runs. But he started staying in the pocket, being more patient. And he was able to stand in the pocket with a guy in his face, and he hit Devontae Smith with a throw that was right on the money. And then he hit Dallas Goedert with a throw that was right on the money. That's what you got to be able to do in the NFL. To be a big-time franchise quarterback is you got to be able to operate from the pocket. We know he can run and all that, but he's getting better doing that, and that's what's going to be – he's going to need to do that in this game. See, this is a game where can't afford to turn the ball over, and the big thing is they're going to have to run plays where he's effective and accurate throwing the ball from the pocket, and then he's going to have to get loose on some runs too, because chances are, Tampa's going to score in the high 20s, and the Eagles are going to have to score some points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that means Jalen's going to have one of his better games.
In order to prevent them from doing that, I understand Jonathan Gannon's going to have one of his best schemes drawn up. I asked you about advice for Hurts. What would you talk to Jonathan Gannon about? From all your years in the NFL, what would you talk to him about trying to do in this game against Tom Brady and that still stacked, regardless of how many injuries they have, Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense?
Well, he needs a younger Fletcher Cox. He needs Fletcher to have one of his better games. He needs Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox to have good games because they need pressure right up the gut. They need that quick pressure where, you got Brady throwing the ball away and starting to get mad, and Brady gets frustrated. He doesn't say anything, but you can see it with his face and everything that he's mad at his offensive line because he had to throw the ball away, and he's getting hit a number of times. So that's the way they got to start out. And whatever they've got to do, if they've got to blitz up the middle, they got to do that, and they got to take some chances. And if they get picked up, they could end up giving up a big play. But that's what they've got to do. They can't afford to just let him sit back there and pick them apart. So they got to get some pressure on him early. And that's going to be key parts of the game. And I think Jonathan Gannon, he's got to take some chances. He's got to go after him with some extra guys. So, you want to send, some of your better blitzers. And Jannard Avery is probably the guy I would want to see going. And, they got to have good games from Josh Sweat, the guys outside, Derek Barnett. The defensive line they're on the clock. They got to come up with a great game. And Jonathan Gannon will give them some help, but they got to do it themselves as well.
What do you think changed for this Eagles team midway through the season, defensively speaking? I know that they played a really easy schedule, and as a matter of fact, the Bucs and the Eagles had like the two easiest schedules in the second half of the season. But did you see anything done by Jonathan Gannon in order to make this a better defense?
Oh, yes, he did. One thing he did, he went to a 5-man front. So what that did was, and you can tell, this came after he had the talk with Fletcher Cox, where Fletcher was complaining about being double teamed all the time. Mm-hmm. So when you get in a 5-man front, basically what it does is it makes the offensive line, they all got to pick up the guy one man to man. Now, they will get help from tight ends and running backs at times, but for the most part, they got to block, especially the guys in the middle. They got to block those guys one-on-one. And that has helped them to get that quick pressure on the quarterback. And they've had success with that, going with that 5-man front. And they really add Jannard Avery to one of the ends. That's what they do. And with the 5-man front, it forces the opposing team to block single block all of your pass rushers. And it's been successful. But that does mean that you don't have as many guys back there in coverage. But you know what? If it means getting quick pressure on the quarterback, you got to give something else. And so they got to give up something. And Jannard Avery, that's where he's been having success. And the rest of the line with Josh Sweat and all the rest of them, when they forced them to single block them, that's when they've had pass rush success.
Gotcha. Were you surprised at all that Jonathan Gannon was already getting head coaching consideration?
Yeah, I'm surprised by it. But he's a young guy who I guess, he's hot right now. I think he's growing. I think eventually he will be a head coach. And I like the way he's progressed this year because he has mixed things up. He's showed a lot of different looks subtly. And that's what he's going to have for Tom this week. The thing is, Tom has seen everything, so he'll probably get rid of the ball. But the big thing the Eagles have got to do is they've got to just play good football. That means when you are one-on-one, you got to beat your man sometime. Mm-hmm. If they have you play man-to-man coverage in the secondary, you got to cover your man. We got to play man-to-man sometime. I'm sorry. You can't tell guys, oh, coach, we're in man-to-man. Hello. The reason you're over here making the money you're making is because you can cover people. So cover your man. And they're going to have to play some man-to-man because, Tampa's too good to just sit in that zone. Tom will pick them apart because they don't play zone well. There are some teams that play a real stingy zone. The Eagles have not learned to play that stingy zone. They just drop off everybody and give everything away. And that's not really the way you're supposed to play zone. But they don't play zone well. Mm-hmm. They got to play man-to-man. And they got to get somebody home. Somebody's got to get home. That means they got to get to Brady. And that ultimately is what the game's going to come down to. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Gannon is going to try to help him. When he gets them in that 5-man front, somebody's got to beat their man. They got to beat their man. Somebody's got to come clean. And they got to do it quickly.
Two more things for you, my friend. Jalen Hurts, starting quarterback next year and beyond. Starting quarterback just next year. What's your assessment so far?
Well, I think right now he is the starting quarterback next year.
Okay.
Because it's not a big draft. I don't think they have, any great quarterbacks in the draft. And I think he's played well enough to do that. After that, it depends on how he plays next year. If he continues to improve, he could end up being the guy. But I can't say he earned being, the guy here for the next 5 years. I can't say that right now.
All right. How about this one? You have the helmets right there behind you. USC, Lions, Eagles, and then that other team. But when you played here in Philadelphia, you're obviously a linebacker for many years in the NFL. Could you ever see a stretch that we have gone through here in Philadelphia since Jeremiah Trotter where the Eagles really haven't had that upscale, upper echelon linebacker? Could you have ever imagined the Eagles going through this long? And will it end with 3 first-round picks in the upcoming NFL draft?
I didn't think that I would ever see that. When I was here, I saw a young Seth Joyner, and I saw him develop into what I think Seth could be a Hall of Fame linebacker because he was probably the best all-round linebacker that I've seen, meaning that he was good as a blitzer. He was a good coverage guy. He was good against the run. And he was a versatile, probably the most, talented when it came to doing everything. I guess Micah Parsons is going to challenge some of that now. But I definitely never saw that happening, because it was such a defensive mentality here in Philadelphia that it really kind of a shock that they had abandoned it. But I can understand why, because the game has changed.
Sure.
But I think still right now, if you see the guys with the special linebackers have the defenses that are separators, meaning that's the way Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl last year. A lot of it had to do with those two inside linebackers they had. Guys that could run. They could run almost with a wide receiver, and they could come up and tackle and play the run. You need guys like that. So I think they will get a big-time linebacker in this draft, no doubt about it, because they need it.
All I need to hear right now. And then finally, they have a shot. They got a shot on Sunday.
Yeah, I definitely think they have a shot on Sunday, but it's going to be with the running game. I think they can run the ball on Tampa. The Carolina Panthers were running the ball in Tampa's last game. Other teams have been running the ball on Tampa. I think the Eagles can run the ball on them. They got to take care of the football. The defense is going to have to play well. And the big thing is going to come down to this. When you're in the red zone, you got to get money in the red zone. And money is not field goals. Money is touchdowns.
Yeah, $6
so you
bills.
Get money when you get in the red zone, and that's what it's going to come down to for the Eagles.
Absolutely. Garry Cobb, always great catching up with you. I always enjoy when we're on Fox 29 together. I know you're doing a slew of other things as well. Appreciate you coming on. The great Garry Cobb, ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the Rothaman Orthopedic Guest Line. Thank you, G. Cobb.
My pleasure. Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.